they are tonight.
Yeah, so you're trying random numbers.
No, he said call this number, not the other number.
Call numbers. I can figure that out.
So.
Numbers is numbers. Yeah.
Yep.
Joe, Frank Dello Stritto, let's talk about movies. How you doing?
Good. We got 15 minutes. How's that, Frank?
Wow. Well, we'll have to find a couple of things to talk about because I don't know I can fill 15 minutes on this movie. But it's a good movie. Jimmy Cagney is an American treasure. So any movie with him, especially from the 30s when he was in his prime, is worth seeing. And the movie is called Great Guy. And the reason we can see it is obviously it's in the public domain. And the reason it's in the public domain is a year before, Jimmy Cagney was not happy with the way Warner Brothers was treating him, or more specifically, the way Warner Brothers was in contract. So he sued them for breach of contract, which was unthinkable then. This is kind of like a priest suing the Vatican. I mean, you just didn't buck the studios in those days. And he was idle for almost a year, and then he made this movie, Great Guy. The one sentence blurb you'll find online about it's a Bureau of Weights and Measures investigator doesn't sound too sexy, but he's basically an honest government official on the trail of nasty people doing nasty things, and the poster shows him with a couple of guns in hand, so there's some action. And this was the first, as I said, this is the first movie he had made in about a year. Until then, since Public Enemy, which was 5 years before this, he had been turning out one movie after another, and that was part of his pleasure that he was a big box office, and he thought Warner Brothers was draining him dry and making him play the same role over and over again. And all of these actors, when they think in the long term, they have to think, don't use me up now. I have a whole career ahead. I'm getting typecast and all that. And he thought they were abusing the terms of the contract in terms of billing, in terms of how much they used him, etc. And he sued them, and he won. And I'm glad, and he won. But Warner's took him back when it was all over, and whatever settlement was made. But Warner's took him back, and he became a bigger star than ever. So let's see. 2 weeks ago, you had another James Cagney movie that is only in the public domain because he made it when he was having an argument with Warner Brothers, or I shouldn't say have an argument. He decided he would want to go independent, and that was what was the name of that movie? It's a Great Life or something like that. And
The Good Life? No, I
It's
forget.
a Good Life. I'm sorry.
Okay.
And that is more unusual for Cagney. This is closer to his stereotype, which he was not crazy about. But it's a good action movie, and he does well. And he's as I said at the outset, he's an American treasure.
Well, the movie is 75 minutes long, and this would be the 75th anniversary of the movie.
Okay.
So we'll have to announce that this is our 75th anniversary airing of Great Guy, and it's 75 minutes long.
Okay. And I haven't checked all the movie stations tomorrow, but I think you might have once again, Joe, you might have the best movie on your time slot anywhere on cable television or online that I'm aware of.
Well, that's Anthony Gamari picked it, and one of the reasons I called you a little earlier, we'll talk a little bit more about Great Guy, but it's Halloween's coming up, so we will be talking Bela.
Okay.
Bela. But this was directed by John G. Blystone. I'm not familiar with him.
And one of the reasons you're not familiar with him, he died a very young man 2 years after this movie was made.
Wow.
He had a decent career going, and after this movie, he made two movies that you've probably seen. Two of the Laurel and Hardy features, Swiss Miss, which incongruously has a gorilla in it, and Blockheads. And then he died abruptly of a heart attack. I think he was 45, 46 years old, something like that.
Wow, that is young.
So he might have he might have made some more movies that we know him as. If he gotten into the 40s, I think the 40s style would have fit the type of movie he made. So yes, why he died that young, I don't know. There were more men in those days having heart attacks in their 40s than now, thank God. So
they were probably all smokers,
Well, they all smoked. This was Cagney's advantage. He was not a drinker, and to my knowledge, he wasn't a smoker. And there weren't many of them those days that weren't. Clark Gable, Spencer Tracy, etc., Humphrey Bogart, not Edward G. Robinson. By our modern standards, their diets and their lifestyles weren't good, and that's why they either died young or didn't age particularly well.
Well, it was a time when they didn't have all the science that we have today.
Yeah. And but I mean, talking about aging, there's one thing I want to say about Cagney. There's actors from the 30s who were extremely popular, and sometimes you watch their movies today, and their acting doesn't date well. And I would say there's two actors from the 30s whose acting seems as fresh today as it was the day it was made. And one of them is James Cagney, and he's got this internal energy in him. It doesn't date at all. I mean, it's so human because he's a barely contained natural force. He's just bouncing all over the. And the other one I would say, and this might surprise some of your viewers, is Clark Gable, especially before he became a big star. And when Clark Gable was playing bad guys, and he was a great villain. I mean, most people, unless you watch his early movies before It Happened One Night or whatever, he's a tough guy often, but he's not a villain. He was a very good villain, and his performances still had that energy. And there was a movie made, about 4 years ago, Public Enemies, a story of John Dillinger with Johnny Depp.
Okay.
Oh, Johnny Depp.
Did you see it, Kevin?
I haven't seen that, but I mean Johnny Depp is pretty good. I like. He's a good actor.
He's a chameleon. He's a real chameleon actor.
Johnny Depp is a very fine actor, but I would contend there's one. John Dillinger was shot while he was attending he went to the movies. He saw a Clark Gable movie, and came out and was shot in the street. And that's how Public Enemies ends.
Yeah, I did see it. I saw that part of it anyway.
Yeah, and I leaned over to my wife and I said, Clark Gable, the clip of Clark Gable in this movie, he's stealing the movie. They better get him off screen because he was very good in that movie. He's very good at all his early 30s stuff. But some actors from the 30s, their acting doesn't date particularly well. Lionel Barrymore was a very popular acting and by many people considered the greatest actor in the world. His acting today seems stilted. It seems contrived. It seems overmannered. His brother John Barrymore, his acting dates fine. Barrymore's movies from the 30s. Barrymore was self-destructive. He was kind of in decline by the late 30s. But his early 30s movies, you see that acting, and you can just see how fresh it looks today.
Frank,
Same thing. Yeah.
Kevin's into the new horror genre. He's into the new Saw. What do you think of Saw?
I thought Saw was a great movie.
Thank you.
You do?
Thank
you. Now let me say this. I hesitate to recommend movies because I don't know people's threshold for violence or gore, and you got to take some strong stuff.
I mean, the way the game was played, it was on choice of live or die, which was like you save as much people as you can, or it's mostly a game for people that want a second chance in life.
But you enjoyed it despite the gore.
I can take it. I mean, most of these movies, most of these strong movies had their strongest scene in the opening, and then that keeps you on edge for the rest. So I know if I can get over this, like Al Pacino's buddy's leg being cut off in Scarface. Once you get by that, it's all downhill from there in terms of gore. But if people don't like gore, they don't like violence, they don't like really things that can get to your stomach, then I can't recommend the movie to them. But I'd say in terms of plot construction, I thought the performances were fine. I thought it was a very fine movie. I like a movie that went out of its way to really be strong in terms of graphic, physical unpleasantness was Hostel. And I went and saw that with some trepidation, and my trepidation was fulfilled because there are some really strong scenes in there. But I thought it was a well-constructed movie. A lot of people can't get past that, and they should not go. I mean, that's just the way it is. If you can't take it, don't go.
I can't take it. Well, The Fly was too grisly for me too.
The Fly was pretty good. I loved not the horror movie Fly, but the Fly from
The 50s?
Yeah.
There was the original in 1958.
Yeah.
There was the remake, I think, was in mid 80s.
Yeah, I enjoyed the 58 one better than the remake.
Yeah, I
thought,
like the black and white. I love the flag.
Well, they're two movies with basically the same plot, but I mean that's about all they have in common. It's again the Fly. You have to take some strong stuff. I like both movies.
Interesting.
No, I mean, but again, I don't. I remember the movie On Golden Pond with Henry Fonda.
Yep.
Katharine Hepburn. A secretary at work asked me, "What is that?" She was very hesitant to go to modern movie. And I said, "No, this is a family movie. It's about people coming to grips with getting old and things like that." And so I was on a Friday. I saw her on a Monday, and I said, "How'd you like the movie?" And she said, "That kid talked so dirty, I got up and left the theater."
Oh, that's too funny. I'm going to go sideways. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I'm going to go sideways for a second on the gore, and then I want to talk about Bela Lugosi. Scarface, at the end of Scarface, they really go crazy with the bullets.
Yeah.
Eddie Murphy did that with Beverly Hills Cop 3.
Yeah.
Which I thought got to the point where, what do they think they are? A George Reeves Superman movie? Too many bullets. It got not even gratuitous, just redundant. What was the point?
Yeah. Well, a lot of times weaker movies fill their time with action that gets a little monotonous to me. And the cliches, the car chase movies. Somebody you can have a well-filmed car chase. There's no shortage of films that have very gripping car chases. You go wow. But when it goes on and on and on, that was my. I was a big fan of Terminator. I am a big fan of Terminator. A big fan of Terminator 2. But Terminator 3, I thought those chase scenes. I said, okay, they're just filling time here. They got the formula, and someone said, okay, for the next 7 minutes, we're going to have a chase scene. But
you know who said it?
Too much.
Allegedly, it was Arnold who put up his own money for that chase scene.
Okay, well, I wish he had called me. And actually, you're going to laugh when I say this. I sent Arnold Schwarzenegger a copy of my book, suggesting he'd be a good guy to play Bela Lugosi, but I never heard back.
Oh, that isn't while he was governor?
I know, this is just before he announced. I had no idea he was getting into politics. This is before the recall in California that shot him into the governor's seat. I said it to him. I said, I was a nice guy. I said, you're a bit young for this now, but I think you'd be a fine guy to do Bela Lugosi.
Well, maybe vocally, but I don't know about physically. But back to that car chase scene. He did that. I think he did it because of The Matrix, and he maybe even outdid The Matrix, but both of them got monotonous for me.
Yeah, again, it doesn't get monotonous for everybody. So, just as I hesitate to recommend movies because I don't know how much violence you can take. Some people love the special effects. The special effects can make a bad movie good for them. And to me, special effects can make a good movie great, but it can't make a bad movie good.
Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you a list of the Bela Lugosi public domain movies we have. It's 8:53. We got 2 minutes left. And you have this wonderful book, Bela, Vampire Over London. Is that correct?
That's correct. Vampire Over London, Bela Lugosi in Britain, and just a 30-second recap. In 1951, his career was on the skids, and he went to England to appear in Dracula, where he did for 6 months, but that was pretty much forgotten. And my co-author Andy Brookson and I dug into the history, and we started finding dozens of people that had met him, worked with him, knew him while he was in England in 1951, and they had never spoken about it. As a result, our book was about 90% new information. I mean, this was not the rehash of the old stories, whatever. This was stuff that nobody knew before, and we were so happy to uncover it and turn it into a book.
Wow.
It started off as a magazine article, but we kept finding people, and they had never talked about it before. And then it grew into a book.
Well, we're going to have a Lugosi festival starting, the first week of October, right? And we'll play it up for Halloween and even beyond Halloween.
All right.
We'll do like a 6 or 8 week Lugosi. So tomorrow night is The Great Guy here on Wingcam. Frank Dello Stritto, thank you for spending so much time. Where are you?
I'm laying on my sofa.
Oh, I thought you were out and about. I thought you were out somewhere in America.
Oh, yeah, that was last week. I think it was Monument Valley last week I called you from.
Oh, cool. Well, thank you so much, man, on Visual Radio.
Very good. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Talk to you next week.
Bye.
Frank Dello Stritto, and a good show tonight. Thank you for talking movies, Kevin. It's your second appearance on Visual Radio, and we got 1 minute left.
We're almost wrapped. 1 minute.
Joe LaRocque is here, great filmmaker. He's involved in his September